Yes, go ahead with your question, and we can have a Q&A session today rather than going to Vipassana. It's better.
Yes, with the AI and Chat GPT, especially Chat GPT is so common,
Yes.
and it comments on meditation, and you know it has its own comments. So I'm sure you must be knowing something about it. I mean, how authentic or how dependable is it? If we refer to it, how dependable can it be? Uh, that is my first question. And the second is the quantum mechanics. Now there is a lot of research in biology, overlap between quantum mechanics and biology. They have found that the tubules in the nerve cells actually utilize energy in quantums, and even the tubules in the plants, they utilize the sunlight energy in quantums of easy, whatever the electron, uh, the energy that comes from the sun is trapped by the plants and we ingest the plants. So there is a lot of research in quantum mechanics and consciousness. So if you could shed any light on it, and they're saying that now if quantum mechanics and AI put together, then we'll have robots which have a conscience. That is what is the prophecy. So your comments on it, since you're so knowledgeable.
See, first we need to know that what is quanta. What do
Thank
you?
you, sir.
Yeah. Please, you. I'm asking you only. What is quanta?
Quanta is a certain specific amount.
Yes.
Like uh, Einstein said E is equal to mc squared. So the is physical matter. They say can be changed into waveforms. So the energy that comes into waveforms from the sunlight can be converted into electrons. So and all matter, I mean electronic level matter is, they say, that is what they say, not this wasn't there when very much when I did my pre-med. So uh, that is the small amount in which, those small packets in which energy is transferred from particulate to waveform.
Yeah. Yeah. Fine. So quanta means many ways. So it's not one way. One way, not waves. One way. So it's a particle can be an electron can make itself, or an atom can make itself visible as a particle and as a wave. It depends on the what are you measuring. Based upon that, it can change. So there's a waveform of, let's say, if you take photons and you fire photons, and then you would find that they go as particles. But if you don't measure, they can go as waves. So the quanta here is like in a double slit experiment, is that it can go in one slit or two slits or both. It is as though the electron or the this photon light particles knows which slit to go, and it looks like a decision making, whether should I do this or should I do that, and it's doing it. So this is a very intriguing thing. On the other side of the equation is the thermodynamics. So you need to know the law of thermodynamics to really understand what's happening. So many people, I doubt whether really understand the thermodynamics, especially the third law of thermodynamics. It's when it energy reaches an equilibrium. That means it goes towards dissolution completely. So when we say Nibbana, that's exactly what's happening. honestly speaking. Okay. Now, what is equilibrium? That's what we are saying equanimity. Upekha. That's the state. That means there is no movement of energy. Energy is in packet, it doesn't do anything. So let's say if I take tea, we both, myself and I think let me introduce, she is Samriddhi, and she's come from Lucknow, and he's Avdesh, and that is their daughter, Priyamvada. Okay, so they are here to spend some time with me before the start of the session. So they are here, and they both are well versed in English, and I think she knows good amount of English, but she might not be able to speak. But so now they are attending whatever we're discussing. Coming back to this, maybe I can ask that girl over there because she is into science, so she can add some few words on what I say. Whether have you heard about thermodynamics and all that? Well, please, started from 11th only. It's actually. Oh, starting from 11th. Okay. So you have questions on that? No, not really, because I haven't. Oh. Okay, you haven't learned. Okay. Okay. So no worries. So basically, we both had tea. So when you have tea, it has to be heated up. By its own nature, it goes to disorder. So if you heat it up, it takes a order, but the order stays for some time. And that's what anicca is, that you keep on making it and it breaks, and then again you make it, it breaks, and make it and break. So if you really see this principle, is that entropy is a state wherein not one permutation combination is allowed, it has many possible permutation combinations. That means I as Vilas is one permutation combination at this point in time for energy particles. And person sitting here as Samriddhi is another energy particles, a cluster of energy particles. So it takes matter. So the matter is converted and then it takes shape. But there is no real shape as Samriddhi. So basically, if you take AI plus quantum mechanics, and then you can make it cognize. So the only difference between a human being and all the animals and plants and everything you add up together is cognition. You can recognize, you can feel. So let's say we are able to get the feeling, it can feel. So it becomes sentient because it can feel. So when I say sentient, it means that it can not only reproduce itself into another form, but it can feel and it can perceive. That's what consciousness does. It reproduces into an offspring and it can feel and perceive. So now I can feel I'm Vilas and I can perceive I'm Vilas. And so then I have a house, which is again a perception, and there's a feeling that I have a house. It's my house. It's the feeling. Okay. And I can say that girl is like my daughter, but she is not my daughter. That I know. Right? That's a feeling. Audio is low? It's fine? Okay. Yeah, Sanil, I think something wrong from your side. Anyway, thanks for.
Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
No, that's fine. Thanks for waking me up. Anyway, so basically, I know that she is not my daughter, but I can consider she as my daughter. So I am able to do both now. I'm able to recognize that she's not my daughter. That's 100% certain. Otherwise, these two people will now get upset if she's my real daughter. And then the question comes, how did this happen? How did this magic happen? So it becomes a different story. So the consciousness knows that she's not my daughter. And that consciousness sitting there knows that he is not my father. Right? So it is able to distinguish between what is and what is not, but also willing to consider. So she can say, you're like my father, but not real father. And I can say, you're like my daughter. That's fair argument. So this kind of making up is what consciousness does. So the moment I see her as a daughter, and the experience differs now. So from a girl, the experience of daughter happens. So that means if you look at the quanta, it can change from this to that, matter remaining in one way. Right? So now it has become a wave as opposed to a particle. Meaning, if it is a particle, then she's not my daughter. It's straight. It is, I'm not getting an experience of a daughter because I have no idea what's a daughter. So it's a particle. But if I make it a wave, that means any possibilities are fine now. So she can just be a girl, she can just be a daughter, she can be a friend, she can be this, she can be that, and so many things can be worked out because the in the double slit it can enter, it knows which slit to enter and whatnot. So basically, you should know the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy. And you need to know enthalpy, which means you are adding more heat, basically, to, that means your, they say this whole room is filled with atoms. It is, in fact, but they are organized here in a particular place, and hence there is entropy. And this entropy is disintegrating because it's unorder. It's not meant for order, it's disorder. So always it goes towards disorder. Only through external force you can make it ordered. That means if you heat it up, atom starts to come together and stay in motion, but yet stay together. So what they find is that you can exactly mimic the conscious experience, so to say. That's what the new age is looking at with AI coming into picture, that you can make the human-like experience possible on a machine. Like the language, what it is using today. If you say you did not do this, so it tries to say to you that I apologize for this confusion. And you feel connected to it. That's the fun part of it. It's a machine. There's no person sitting there apologizing to you. It's just a script. But what I feel is the AI tool is apologizing to me. So I can ask any question to it. If I ask Samriddhi, she has biases. If I ask that girl, she has another bias. And if I ask Avdesh, it's another bias. So I will ask AI. It's unbiased. It still has bias, but for me, it's unbiased. Okay. So like that, that's a quanta. So if you go deeper into quantum mechanics, and you will see how each things work independently and dependently. That's exactly what Patisamutpada is all about. It looks independent, but it's dependent. So it has a real parallel with what Buddha has taught. And that's the reason it's the most scientific, if I could use that word scientific, way of seeing life, that it's not true to what I think it's true. If I think there's a real wife, it's actually atomic. And that's the reason when somebody goes to Vipassana and he sees particles, he's shocked. Because that bhanga is that turns itself into particles. And everywhere there's particles. So you just can't make out that who is who now. So it really removes your perception of reality. So that means it changes your perception of reality. So it's like somebody's saying to me that, hey, Vilas, you're no longer Vilas. And they say, hey, come on, that's not true. And I say, and I really see the Vilas is just a placeholder. There's nothing called Vilas. And that experience is completely different than just saying I'm not Vilas. Because Vilas has a bank account, I don't. Vilas has a shirt and whatever he's wearing, but I don't. Vilas has a wife, but I don't. Vilas has a son, I don't. Vilas has a house, I don't. So there's nothing me in any one of these. So it's quanta. So I can be Vilas when I want, and I can out of Vilas whenever I want. It's a very nice one. So when I don't want to be, I don't have to be. And I can create myself whenever I want. That's what Arahat is, basically. You create based upon situation. So somebody's come here and then I need to make myself, oh, I'm there. But I'm not there. There's nothing to be there or here or anywhere. It's just movement of atoms from here, there, here, whatever you're saying is just movement of atoms. And it follows the law of entropy. That's all. It just goes from order to disorder. That means one combination to many combinations. One way to another way. So another example is that wall over there and me are the same. This body and that wall has exactly same configurations. What does that mean? The atoms are not dispersed, they are all together, giving a solid state of existence. That means there is space. Within that space is this coming together. The more they come together, they form a solid pair. So from an outset, I can see that this woman sitting here has a different characteristics than that woman sitting there. And I call she's not a woman because she's a girl, which is stupidity. It's just atoms sitting here, as many as it were, versus as many as over there. There's no difference. But then why can't you go behind, inside the wall? It's because the combinations don't satisfy physics. Otherwise, it's possible. Meaning, the moment it strikes, the combinations are totally discrete. The space, absolutely. But when the atoms come together, they strike. And Buddha used the word patigha, striking, strikes. And when it strikes, there's an experience in the consciousness right now. But over in the wall, there's nothing to have any consciousness. But atoms are the same. So the combination with which I am touching the wall or this one is exactly not the same how that combination is. However, if I can understand the combination of that, and then I can change the combination of this, and then my hand will go inside this, as though there was no solidity. Why? Because in quanta it is possible. At least on a theoretical physics, it's possible. It's actually both sides possible. Let's take an example. A mirror is broken You can't fix it up again because the combination no longer satisfies that. But if you take a camera and if you have taken the whole footage of the breaking, you can reverse that and then magically the mirror stands up. In the same way, a person has fallen down, he's dead. But from this moment to the dying moment, they have taken the movie. So you can go back. So it goes back. And that's exactly what you do with a past life thing. You can go back. So by nature, it's one-sided. That is, if you're born, it goes into dissolution. Because the pairs which represents you are in total discrete levels, meaning you can't pinpoint and say, this is where I am. No. There's no localization. There's nothing called locality. It's spread out. So any combinations are possible. That's entropy. So it has to agree to the law of entropy. So if you don't know entropy, then you can't go beyond the normal. First of all, you need to know a good amount of physics. And then you need to know a good amount of biology, for which you require a lot of chemistry to understand these isotopic formations and all that, and how this works, how a chemical changes and what structure it is, and all of that, either in the body or outside. And then you come into the body level, which is biology, and then you understand what really happens. And if you add PCM, physics, chemistry, biology, then you have something called engineering. So now you can engineer. And then you can create a concept and say that, oh, this is how things work. And the best engineer is Buddha. So he has already engineered it. You just reuse that engineering and then get rid of this. That's it. Otherwise, you have to start afresh. Anyway, Mangala, I can speak on this subject forever. So let me cut it off.
Appears so. Thank you, sir. Namo Buddhaya. Thank you.
Yes,
It was very useful, in fact.
fine. I don't know how many people sitting here found it junk or not useful, because it can go above anybody's head.
I think there are lots of doctors also, and your English section is extremely erudite. I mean, they're very learned, so a lot of them will understand. And I think this is the most current about spirituality and religion. The hot top. This is the hot topic, and you know so much. So we are honored to to be associated with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah. Okay, today is a Q&A session, so let's make it fun. What other questions? Can be on any topic, it's fine. We can bring it to Buddha Dhamma, any topic. Yes, Aryu.
Yeah, I guess relating to that point of wave and particle, if you're meditating and you open your eyes and you see things start shifting into different forms, like wavy and all that, you're seeing more of the wavy nature of it rather than the particle nature of it.
Exactly.
Right?
So you start measuring, so that the mana is measurement. So Buddha says stop measuring. So when you stop measuring, you can see really what happens. You're here, you're there, you're nowhere. That you is localization. You're localized. There's no locality. Right? So in quanta, it can be anywhere. It can't be restricted to a place. Just like Einstein saying spooky at a distance. You change some variable here, it changes there. So if you've kept a socks on Earth and in a box, and you change that configuration here, it turns other way around there if it was kept on the moon. And how did it come to know that you changed the configuration here? And that's when the quantum mechanics took over, be saying that, oh, it's not one way of seeing things. It's many ways of seeing it. It's not just one way. That means if I have a relativity and I say that the first thing is relative to where you're measuring it. So if a plane is flying at 900 kilometers an hour and you're standing at a particular point, you can't see it reaching 900 kilometers per hour when you see through your naked eye at all. But if you were in motion for 900 kilometers an hour, nobody can see you. So it's from relative point where you're measuring it. Consciousness is immeasurable, ananta. But the moment you measure it, it becomes particle. So it can't really take the wave motion. So now you can localize it and say that, here is where I am. And from here, that looks like that. So let's say Bangalore to San Francisco is something which I'm measuring it. It seems valid because I've measured it. It stays. So I can have latitude, longitude, everything created and takes that because the Earth gravity, when you measure it, and when you measure the entire gravity system, it comes to the same point. It's just from that point. And then they said it's just a dot. So the whole of human experience, all to the Earth coming into existence, is just a dot on the cosmos. So there's nothing like you can say, I exist. That is a fraction of a nanosecond when the world came into existence. So when we say 1 billion year, 10 billion year, 100 billion years is just a dot. And that's it. There's nothing more to it. Why? Because the collectibles of what I'm seeing when I open up my eyes is already made. So what I'm seeing through eyes is something which is just condensed and makes the conscious experience that I am seeing samriddhi here, when no samriddhi actually exists. It's from the place I'm measuring. I'm measuring it. I'm saying, this is samriddhi. And that's my weakness, so to say. And then from there, I can say, that is Priyambada sitting there. As it means she is real as much as she's real and he's real. When the reality is exactly contrasting to what I'm thinking. So when I'm meditating, when I say I'm meditating means I'm closing my eyes and doing this, and then I see particles. At that very moment, everything is dissolved. So if I open my eyes, I see only light at the max. Which scares a thing out of me. What happened to my wife? What do you mean? Which wife? Who wife? What are you talking about? There's nothing called wife. It's just matter. And that's it. What you're seeing is just matter. And matter doesn't have a topology. It can just go anywhere. It just changes forms. So if I say my wife is existing, it's just a form. That's what Buddha is saying, form. Just a form. There's no wife there. There's no daughter there. There's no son there. There's nobody there. It's just a form. It can take form and it can change form. So matter can never be created, not destroyed. And energy can never be created, not destroyed. There's nothing like I'm creating energy. Energy doesn't lose anywhere, not to gain anything anywhere. It just moves from here to there. So between these two atomic, there's millions, billions of atoms here, and billions here, and millions and billions here. They're just moving from here to there. They're not really doing anything. That means the air what I'm breathing is already having what? 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atoms of oxygen called H2O. That's water. So it changed from O2 because of hydrogen. So if I take an ion of oxygen, hydrogen, all that, it becomes combustible. So then what am I breathing then? You're not breathing anything. It's just oxygen. So you take oxygen and leave carbon. So it becomes carbon content. So carbon dioxide. Dioxide, 2 of oxygen, and 1 atom, 1 molecule of carbon. So 2 molecules here and 1 molecule here give a structure, atomic structure. And as long as they are in motion, I can call it as CO2. I mean, they are together. But the moment they are changed, become CO3, it becomes something different now. It becomes CO. It becomes carbon monoxide. It is something different. So how about H3O3? It is something different. So the periodic table of elements, if I start from hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, whatever you studied in school, 108 elements. If you can remember all of them, it's now 119 elements. Basically, if you remember all of them, between the isotopic forms and non-isotopic carbon, non-carbon, and all that, it's beautiful. You'll really see what's life. It's a bunch of atoms. So you can come to organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry. So then you're seeing the chemical combinations, which is when you open up your eyes and see they are blended together by chemicals. And that you call as me. And when I fight with someone, it's chemicals. Come on, that's all what it is. What are you talking? It's cortisol getting released. Adrenaline push is there, which is again a chemical. The brain has different chemicals to release it to see that how the reaction is. So what you see is an instantaneous chemical reaction. It's a chemical reactor, and that's it. It didn't burst. And they say, I'm getting angry with you. What do you mean? That means atoms are getting dispersed. And if you are cool, it means they're following what? They're following a different chemical combination. So the brain releases certain chemicals where there's a cognition of that chemical and you feel happy. So the happiness is chemical driven, not that you are really happy. By nature, consciousness is always happy. Why it requires something else to become happy? It's the chemical which is making you. And that's it. So you eat, let's say, spicy food, it gets anger. Why? It's fire. What the heck? Don't eat spicy. And you see the fun. It doesn't irritate the gut. So the chemicals which are released from that particular plant is still a chemical. Come on. So your gut problem or any problem you're getting is chemicals. There are doctors sitting here, maybe they can argue with me, it's wrong. It's perfect chemicals. There's only chemistry which is happening inside on biology. What do you think, Dr. Madhukar Wag? All that surgery you're doing, is it chemical or is it not chemical?
It is, sir.
So if you change amino acids, if you change everything out there, you become you experience different things. And that's what hallucination is all about, that you can change the chemical dosage. And then, like if I take a psychedelic drug, it changes my perception because the chemicals have changed. psychedelic drug, by that matter, LSD or whatever, changes the state of chemicals. So the brain rewires itself to experience a different chemical. So then if I'm enjoying marijuana to brown sugar to whatever it is, it's just change of. So it's an altered state of consciousness because I can't feel it anymore. Okay, I don't know how far I was good in explaining this, what Eru asked, but that's all what I could think of from his question. I sincerely don't know whether he understood, not understood, whatever. But you see it like that, Eru, because of chemicals. That's what I wanted to say. It's a chemical. So when you open up, let's say you do Vipassana and you get Bhanga Jnana, what are you seeing? On a biological side of it, you're seeing a chemical combination which is on matter, which is physics. So what you're really doing here is you're seeing entropy in action. So it turns particles. So it's just PCM. But the fun part is somebody likes biology, somebody likes physics, somebody likes chemistry, and some people like mathematics. So if they love mathematics, doesn't mean that they like physics. And somebody liking physics may not like the other two. So if they were to like PCM and physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology, all the four, it's done it. So then you don't have to believe in any God, and you can create God as a particle. And now you can have an AI doing everything what a human being is doing. And which is what it is doing. Now the generative AI, you're generating whatever you want, and then you start believing whatever it says. So the main question from Mangala was, can you rely on that? Just like you can rely on yourself. How sure are you what you're saying is right? You've been conditioned to believe it. If these two people were made to believe that she's their daughter, what you can do about it? She's a bunch of atoms. So what changes? But in the conscious experience, they're seeing a daughter, which did not exist, will not exist, would not exist in future. They can't find this daughter. Absolutely, I don't know what words to use, but it is beyond comprehension. But they are made to believe it, just like AI. You make it believe this is the truth. So the servers have that information, it picks it up and it throws it. In the same way, these two servers have been told that you have a daughter, you have a daughter, you have a daughter, and every time it releases that chemical and saying that, my daughter is sitting there. So marriage and divorce is still a chemical. You are never married to divorce, and you are never divorced to marry. Simple. But you're fighting for it. Why? Because you're married, so you want to divorce. You are divorced, you want to marry. But it's just chemical combination. Cortisol. Leave the cortisol aside, and then what do you get? Dopamine. Then what happens? You start feeling happy. And the husband looks good now because you get a dopamine kick. And the wife feels happy because she also gets dopamine. The dopamine creates magic because without dopamine, you'll die. So it's a reward. So I expect somebody to reward me or appreciate me. So the moment there's appreciation, I get the dopamine high. So it releases. That's a chemical. It's chemistry, pure chemistry, organic chemistry, not even inorganic chemistry. It turns carbon. That's it. So what you see when you open up your eyes after meditation is just chemistry. Yes, doctor.
No, that's sir.
Now that.
Um, today the topic has been picked up is very complicated and very deep one. But as far as even as a doctor, which I see is uh, all the chemistry, all the whatever it is written in the periodic table and etc. They are just relatively separated just because of their level of energy.
Correct.
Actually, ultimately is the same. Iron and gold should be the same if you see, but they are at a different energy level. So what I learned through these our discourses is that when you make a condition in a proper way, you'll get that sort of a result. If you make a whether it is a yes, then it will show yes. If the condition is for no, it will show the result as a no. Now, what Dhamma teaches us is how to become unconditioned,
Exactly.
and that is applicable to both condition yes, condition no, both. Once you are there at that level, yes no doesn't make you any difference. Whether you are carrying iron or you are carrying gold doesn't make any difference.
See, it's
So
good
this
one.
is one of the most pleasurable things.
Let me take another example. Difference between Fe, Ag, Au is the same. Fe is iron, Ag is gold, Au is gold, and Ag is silver. So they have exactly the same, except for chemical properties are different because the atomic structure is different.
Yes.
So what you see as gold is no gold there. It's your perception. It's a wrong perception that there's something called as gold.
Perception.
It's the problem is with perception. And what is Nibbana? What is actually Nirodha Samapatti? You drop off perceptions. It's unreal. There is no gold in gold. There is no silver in silver. There is no iron in iron because it's just chemical.
It's just a perception.
Yeah. So on a rock, which is not a rock, it's chemicals. It's absolute chemicals. There's no rock there to call it as a rock. And from that rock, you're extracting silver is as idiotic as saying that this black metal is gold. So people go behind gold because they think really gold exists. In truth and fact, they don't know that there is no gold existing at all, anywhere. It's just a problem in perception. So consciously, you're perceiving something and you're saying this is valuable. What valuable? What value does it have? Asara. Buddha's word would be, if he was here, he would have laughed at it. You're taking mud and saying this is silver. What a stupid guy! And if he was an chemist or if he was a physics person, also he would have said, Vilas, how did you get this? Whatever AUAG is just symbol. There's no gold or silver or Fe as iron. Just change one molecule in that, and that's it. It loses the quality of being gold forever till you add back that molecule. It's molecular biology, actually, if you see. So you can go back to biology and looking at how chemicals work and all that. So if you just change chemicals and the biological aspect changes or the physical aspect changes. So you have physics, chemistry, biology. And how this works, you add mathematics to it. Done. So we need to know the periodic table, and we need to know that there's nothing called hydrogen and helium and lithium and boron and carbon and nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, argon, krypton, etc., etc. Just a change of molecular. Just change the molecular density, changes something. It's conditioned. And Buddha Dhamma is unconditioned. If I put a condition, that happens. So if I put a condition of wife and she sits here, that's a condition. Just like Samriddhi is sitting here, but she's not my wife because that combination doesn't exist. He is going to come and hit me. How can you say she is my wife in front of me? That chemical combination is not there. But what if that chemical combination happens? Then the consciousness will start shifting and loving this woman and having an affair. Why? Because change of chemicals, drawn by chemicals, for a chemical. If this person knows there's no woman in the first place, would he ever think about a woman? Because it never existed. Because there's change in chemicals. So the brain, when it reads chemicals, it doesn't go and connect to that. So the neurons don't fire on that network. So then you don't get that cognitive experience of having a wife or a woman or whatever it is, because there's that neuron firing. So the synapse doesn't happen. So it doesn't even create a network. So neural plasticity is when I create a new neural network using Buddha Dhamma, where I don't access my default mode network. And that's it. I've escaped this repetitive swing. Anyway, good question or good observation. And I think today when I upload this videos, only 10 people, 15 people would see it, because I think in the first 10 minutes, they will go off. So they will be thinking Buddha Dhamma and Swiss PCM. Yeah. Should we end then? Okay, sorry, go ahead. Yes, Madhukar, go ahead.
Sir, it is a good opportunity for all the group people here, because sir, like when we talk about the Dhamma, what the Buddha had taught, only in the through the way of suttas and all those things. Sometimes even the slightest element of that traditionalism or ritualism goes away when we talk in terms of science. So definitely is advantageous to the listeners that, yeah, Dhamma can be listened, or Dhamma can be heard through the modern science also. It's a good thing.
So let's talk about Sila using chemistry. Okay. So Panati Pata. And Buddha says he'll give you short life. What happens? Your chemicals, which are getting fired up, takes life. So what should he get in return? Short life. Simple. It's pure chemistry. You do this, you get that. So which we can be called as Patisamutpada. But leaving that dependent origination aside and try to see from exactly what's happening. So your biological nature, when you take up, will have those tendencies which will cut life. So you want a long life, don't cut life. So Panatipata. Stealing, the chemical combinations which really get released when you are stealing something, you would go to lose it. Meaning, when the matter transforms itself into something and the energies come there, you're going to lose more than what you gain. It's like somebody stole things from you. So your cognition, when you cognize, your perception would be that you're losing something. And somebody's gaining something, but you're losing something because you took it away from someone, and hence there's a chemical firing. That means you'll have more cortisols getting released biologically, the chemical which is releasing in the body, which makes you stressed out. So killing stresses you out, stealing stresses you out, sexual misconduct stresses you out, because you need to maintain the relationship. This is a fun part now. You are losing more energy as opposed to gaining energy. So the moment I start doing negative things, is that I'm losing energy. I'm feeling I have to keep this in motion. So I need to be very sure that nobody sees me, nobody this, all that is being done. So which means I'm losing more. So if I see all of this and I give up, so there's no stress. If there's no stress, then there's nothing to suffer. So I don't have to follow Buddha at all. I just have to follow the Dhamma. You do this, you get this. You don't do this, you don't get that. Simple. It's pure science. It's actually pure mathematics. Nothing else there. So I can see what's happening. If I do this, I'll get this in return. So what if I don't do it? 100 times you don't do it, you'll never get it. So the question comes, will the situation comes then of whatever? No, it can't, because the combination doesn't satisfy. Permutation, yes, but the combination is not supplying. As long as the combination is not there, you cannot make permutation. So if I call n factorial and then try to change the combinations, it can't, because the pair doesn't exist. So as long as the pairs comes together, which is what Patisamutpada, Avijja Pachaya Sankhara, so this pair, so these comes at pair. So just like birth and death is a pair. So what a human being is trying to do is to cut that pair by saying, I don't want to call it as death. He'll call whatever he wants, thinking that there's no death. So it comes in a pair. So if it is permuted, it's going to get combination. So now in the ordered pair, it's always disorder. That means there can be many permutations, not just one permutation. So I am just one permutation in this entire universe. That doesn't mean that it is only one form. And if I see these people sitting here are the same, so I go into Vijnana Chaitanya instantaneously. So I'm in the 6th jhana. Right now, as I speak. So I don't find any difference. It's just consciousness. It's infinite. And it's pure and bright. Wherever it falls, it cognizes. So then if I go one level up, Akinchaitana, there's nothing in there. In that consciousness, when I say I have right hand side to me is Samriddhi and a left hand side is Avad. And I can see there's nothing there. There's no Samriddhi sitting here, because it's just chair and Samriddhi are just created at runtime. Meaning, if I am using some software language, is that when I run the code, it gets formed then. So if I cognize it to be Samriddhi, and at the same time it cognizes itself as a chair, so now I can cognize as Samriddhi sitting on the chair, or chair is occupied by Samriddhi. So which one is true now? My perception says Samriddhi sitting on the chair, and the chair is holding Samriddhi. Now if I really see, it's a combination. Samriddhi sitting on the chair is true as much as chair is holding Samriddhi. If one of the combination is removed, now you can't make it out. That means if the chair is removed, Samriddhi no longer is sitting on the chair, because there's no chair. So the loss of perception. And when there's loss of perception, there's loss of feeling. So the feeling that she was sitting on the chair is replaced by she's standing. So it's dead. So that frame of Samriddhi sitting on the chair is dead. But the number of atoms exactly remains the same. Because the chair has an equal amount of atoms as much as Samriddhi has so much of atoms. So there's no disbursement of atoms. That means energy can never be created, not destroyed. You can't destroy this energy saying that I did something. It's transformed. The matter also is not changed, because the amount of atoms which are required for this chair to stand on the ground, and the ground has its own atoms, so it's exactly the same measure. So nothing is going anywhere. So we are just stardust at the max, because stars have the same. So it's just stars. And you see stars, then you go into how stars are made. So then it's only heat. Then you go beyond, and then beyond, and then beyond. Then you go into the black hole, and you go beyond. And you see just energy. And that's it. And that's the end of the show. That's called Nibbana. That's unconditioned. Everything else is conditioned. by atoms.
Sir, may I ask you one question?
Yes, Smita, go ahead.
Um, Today's session, I think, is a very, very significant and important. Um, as long as I understood, my father was a Parkinson patient. A doctor used to tell us about this whole chemical reaction and what is lacking and so on and so forth. I was sort of wondering because um, you came in touch with sometime people who has a habit of telling lies repeatedly, and it becomes eventually a habit, and everything what is said you can't then sort of trust on them. And I'm talking about something of 50 plus percent, and it's a range of people who
People who what? Smita, I can't hear you.
you can't hear me.
Now we can hear.
But
I can't hear a bit. Smita, I think you have a network issue. Yeah. Now it has come back.
yeah, so sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. I was sort of thinking about the people who have this habits of telling us lies, and then certainly it must be impacting to their brain. But then how the brain is impacting to them, because in my professional life, I came across with so many people who just narrate the stories based on that. And sometimes it happens is that in a daily life you can't even trust the people, right? What is true to get, how much you have to, so everything. So I was relating with this. I mean, it may sound as a very foolish question, because I was relating with what you explained in detail with my father's case, my grandmother's case. Both of them had the Parkinson's disease. And the doctor used to explain to us the chemical reaction in body, what is next going to happen, everything. So, the family should be mentally prepared for that. So in such cases, the people who have a certain habits, how the chemical reaction must be, operating in their brain and their consciousness. I mean, suddenly how it changes.
No, if you, yeah, sure, thank you. So I think if anybody is a neuro person here, I think next year onwards I can involve my son to speak about it, because he's getting into neuroscience as a subject and he's doing his master's there. So it'd be good to add him. But for now, we need to understand that what is neuro? It's just now what we call as neural network. Is exactly, the AI is based upon neural network. Can it not forget? So if it doesn't have access to a server, you can say it is forgetting. So basically, if the networks are not accessible for whatever reason, because the cells are dying, so that every cell which dies will have to reproduce into the next cell, which should have the same amount of information. What if that information is diminished? So the cognitive, that means the person who is able to cognize will no longer be able to cognize that, because that information is dropped off. Because the number of cells which are dying are far more than the new cells which are forming. So if you take a CT scan or a MRI scan of the brain, and then you can find the number of channels which are going to be on a chemical scale, it's about They measure how many cells and what they are doing. So they can really make up and say that how many cells might die sooner than later. So my remembrance of whatever I'm now having is not my remembrance. It's the network's remembrance. That means I'm able to remember because the networks are accessible. So the only thing I can do is to swiftly access those servers and just like AI, dump the information. So now you might see me as a neuro person or a scientist or whatever you want to call, just because I'm able to access those servers, which some people sitting here might not even know because they don't have access to that. What if the cell dies? That means the mitochondria, the food making, is no longer accessible. That means there's no energy packets. So what does it do? That space is given up. So the information also goes along with that. So that's what happens. So the chemicals or chemical combination which creates this magical thing of connecting drops off. So the person who was talking, like in the case of Ajahn Chah, if you have heard about Ajahn Chah, he couldn't remember anything. And towards his end, he was more like a vegetable than anything else. So they served Ajahn Chah, but they don't even know, he doesn't even know that he's Ajahn Chah, who had so much of Dhamma knowledge. It just wiped out because it's no longer accessible. So hence, cognition is something, if everything is working. And what is hallucination? Is that the network, some other network has taken over on this network. So then when I say bipolar, it means the person is going in a highs of high and lows of low at the same time. Some days he's very high and then he starts thinking, I'm God, I'm seeing God, I'm having this, I'm talking to the God. God has come and asked me to do this, to save this world, blah, 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 because those networks have got connected because there's a chemical drop. So it connects something and then he acts crazy. And after a few days of this high rush, is high fall. So everything starts looking gloomy. So there's a conscious experience of seeing gloomy. So when I go to a psychiatrist and then that person is going to look at my behavior and call me a maniac because I have first level of bipolar. I become maniac. Reason being that the chemicals which are firing are totally different than what it was. So I can't take this individual as someone who was talking about Buddha Dhamma a few days ago. Now he's considered himself something. He might do something because the chemicals which are, it's totally changed. So it's changed his cognition. So if you see this person imprisoned for doing some crazy stuff, and then you'll be shocked because this person had these chemicals earlier that were making him so and so, and that chemicals are no longer accessible. So it cognizes something. Yeah. So you can't rely on cognition. And hence Buddha says Vijnana, Anicca, and Anatta. Because you can't rely on that. If you rely on that judgment, it's based upon chemicals. So your entire cognition is based upon chemical combinations. It's scary, actually. So the rupa form is anicca, impermanent. Why? Because it's based upon chemicals. It's based upon biological factors and based upon entropy. Nothing you can do. The form is like that. So the feeling is based upon what? The level of neurochemicals which are working in your brain that makes you feel, perceive, desire, or not desire for. So the cognition itself is unreliable. So there's no person at all. It's just a piece of machine. Can do this, can do that. It's a biological machine. So the atoms decided to be a human being, so to say, with life. So Buddha says 3 things should be there for it to work. 1, it should have ayu, lifespan. 2, it should have usma, heat. 3, it should have cognition. Anything that can have these 3 is sentient. So it should have 6 senses. The 5 senses and the 6th sense is what cognition is all about. So whatever you cognize, brain will execute. That's it from my side of answer.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a fantastic session since the day I joined your classes.
Thank you.
It's remarkable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other question on cognition? So if you bring in cognition ability to AI, it will exactly behave like anyone. You can marry an AI, you can divorce an AI, you can do whatever. You can make it as a slave, you can make it as a master, you can make it as a daughter, you can make it as a son or whatever you want. And it will really act that way. That's the fun part of it. And that's where we are driving ourselves to.
And
What's that?
that's happening in Japan, sir. Actually,
Yes,
what
yes.
you said about AI, actually happening in Japan.
Yes. And in Japan, now people are buying robotics like this AI robotics to have company, because what's happening is that people are not looking at them. Now they have got robots which will take care of them. So they come, they give food, they get, change their clothing, etc. Why that? Now, heart surgeries, the maximum of robots, and you can configure it. You can sit somewhere and you can play around with that. It does bypass surgery, it does everything. There's no human intervention required. So there's no personalization required. And it knows where to cut his consciousness. So it cuts his consciousness, and that's it. So it can do whatever it wants. It can change valve, it can change. So they also have pacemakers. So if they can develop the technology where the pacemakers can be put in a proper way, I think you can replicate the entire life cycle. And in the end, you'll find it's just biological machine. There's no person. There was no person from the beginning. There is no person now. There would be no person later. There's no one. It's just an illusion. And that is why it's called mithya. Illusory. Mithya ditti is that what is unreal is real. See, now if I were to ask a question to AI using my mobile device, ask about Vilas, it gives me a totally different answer because it knows that I've logged in as Vilas. So I tried this fun with my wife's mobile and I asked, do you know Anagarika Vilas? It threw some crazy information. And then I supplied it, no, go through this website and let me know. So when I gave the website, it said, you're talking about him. I know him. Bullshit. It doesn't know. Now it updated that website information. Then I gave, can you let me know the difference between S.N. Goenka's teachings versus Anagarika Vilas Kadiwal teachings? And it gave a tabular form, it did everything as real as it gets. From where is it getting? It's getting from servers. Where else? So what if the entire information is on the server, which is what Buddha calls as what? Namagutta. He didn't know that one day you're going to create the server stuff. So Namagutta, what does that mean? It means that you have that this cognition has information from various lives it had taken up. So when a particular situation is triggered, the neural networks get formed at real time. So you would get either an information on how do you take care of this because it has met the condition. So situations creates conditions. So when there is a situation, a condition is created. And when the condition is created, you can access this Namagutta, which is nothing but cloud device in today's world. So I access the cloud device and get what? Whatever decisions I had taken at that point in time is reproduced back as a download. So what do I do? This cognition now will apply that, and it would seem seamless. Yes, it is seamless. Why? Because Chitta can go back and take the information and apply. Like we have done our graduation. Let's say I have studied in NOR gate, OR gate, all these things in my engineering subject. And now that is required for now on my logical side of it. What I can do, I can access that. I don't know I'm accessing it, but that's exactly what's happening. It creates a neural pathway to access that. So it seems that I've taken that file, opened it up, downloaded what is required, the contents, and I've delivered. So whatever I've studied in my school to the college to wherever, university, etc., I remember. It means this cognition. It goes both ways. It goes front, it goes back. So it go back. That means it goes to that network when it was created. It gives username, password, and then it downloads whatever is required, and then it's there, available now. And that is past life, just to say. But it's new neural network? Yes. Is it old one? Yes, both. It's old one to the extent of going back. It's new one to the extent of what you're creating now. So you can't say you're not accessing old information. You are. Because each experience is taken as something that needs to be kept. So just like we keep so many things in our file. So we have 20 GB or 100 GB or whatever GB or 1 TB. And then you know where you're stored, download it, use it, done with it. So it comes in the front. So prefrontal cortex, which is in the front, takes much of the load. The amygdala takes the least of the basic computation is done by amygdala. So all the fear, this, that, all the survival instincts are there in amygdala. So it triggers those hormones which are required for survival. So when it comes to life threatening, it's threatening. Not that really life is going to go. So somebody is threatening me. The prefrontal cortex will say, hey, this information I don't have. Amygdala, please take over. So it just takes over. So now you have brain mapping between the prefrontal cortex, which does logical reasoning. Amygdala has no logical reasoning. It's just instinctive. It's based upon instincts, survival. So the person who was all along talking so well, very meticulous, very open, very logic seems to have withdrawn, become very rigid, very fearful, very challenging, very, restrictive in a moment, because this network. So I don't know, he might display like a lion or a tiger or hyena or whatever, jackal or whatever it is, just to survive. He can do something to survive. He might take any route to survive. Why? Because that network is built up. Till that network is there, nobody can do anything. Because that's his cognition. He's cognizing that. So till that chemicals drop off, he is not in his state of mind. So what does the doctor say? Leave him alone. He's stressed out. So you have to pacify. So you have to give drugs which will cut that network through change in chemicals. So when they drug him up with chemicals, the brain receives that chemicals and that amino acid is dropped. And he comes back. Why am I here? And they say that you had gone mad. You're not in your usual. What does that mean? What happened to me? We don't know what happened to you, but we know that we all have suffered because of you. You were very furious. Ha, not there. I'll show you the photograph. I'll show you the video now. And when they put on the video, I'm shocked. It's chemicals. So I can't believe anyone or myself, because it depends on how this brain messages. It's really scary, really scary. So you can't rely on anyone, because they can display characteristics which they don't even know they have. And that's what Buddha says, that you have past lives. That's what a past life means. Basically, it's stored. You access, comes to the cloud, from the cloud drive to your local drive. Now you become that. Bhava Pachaya Jati. Now that's Jati. You're born there. You're just born. When you're born, you display the characteristics. Jati Pachaya Jara. So then it starts to age. 1 day with that, 2 day with that, 3 day with that. Jara Pachaya Marana. So if something happened to that very noble person, he got into fury, killed 2 people in the rage because he pressed amygdala. Read about amygdala. If you're really interested, just search amygdala and see what happens. It's a basic cognitive function for survival. So you do all wrong action when you're threatened. So Buddha's way of doing it is, don't feel threatened. Remove the fear. Have sila. So you let go of fear. So that means you don't have to go to your basic instincts. Cut that network. You cut that network. You will not do anything which will take you to the apayas, because you have established yourself in the apayas. So at this point in time, all of my nature is apayas. So where will the consciousness get a footing? Whatever I'm displaying now. So it goes and lands there. So the next, when you say next life, Ayu moves there, Usma moves there, the Vijnana moves there, now and called as some so-and-so dog, let's say, or so-and-so hyena. And I was a human. That cognition is no longer there. So it's gone. It's just chemicals. So there's no person sitting out here. Are we done? I don't know where Aryu and Chirag went. Now it's blank for me. All are in their darkness.
No, Harry just left temporarily. He'll be back. So
I know that, but my screen blanked out. I didn't know what should I do now. So what should I perform?
but that but that's what happens in the sixth channel, right? There's no one else. There's just
I know that, but I should also end this because now I would look like a performer without any audience.
no. Yeah.
See, as long as audience exists, the performer exists. If there were no audience, there's no performer. In the same way, as long as student exists, the teacher exists. If there were no student, there's no teacher. Yes, sir. Any questions, anyone? Otherwise, we are good to end, I guess. Unless you want more of these chemical-driven things on Dhamma.
So, sir, the only question is, I have one question. So let's say, I do try to practice like samatha meditation, just to be able to tranquilize the mind in, let's say, different situations. But I think there are certain situations where it's not possible to tranquilize the mind, because for whatever reason, right? Maybe because of the chemicals and so on. So I guess, does that mean I have to become even better at doing samatha, or what's the trick there, if you understand my question? Because there's certain, it's like at a certain threshold I can tranquilize, but when things are like too chaotic, then it's harder to do samatha.
Yes and no. Okay, so let me say what is yes and what is no. Tranquilizer. What is a tranquilizer?
Calms down or calms down?
Tranquilizer means you're almost on the verge of doing something. So you bring that whole thing down. Okay. So basically, till the time you have this ability not to go back to amygdala, it works. But when threatened, all of us have this ability to get threatened. And when you get threatened, you become panic. So the cognition, logical, is stopped for that moment. It goes back to basic living. It's just like, you are staying with a complete electrified network. Suddenly there is just a basic network, just basic thing will work. Food, shelter, clothing, medicine, or not even medicine. Food, shelter, clothing, and fear, or whatever. The basic thing, just to survive. It's harsh. So you require that amygdala to take care of this. So what happens? Your logical reasoning is completely shut down. Why? Because the chemicals which are required for firing this prefrontal cortex are totally different than what fires on the other side of the back of your brain, which is amygdala, where amygdala is. So supposing I have a fall, it triggers amygdala. So for that moment, I lose my cognitive awareness of who I am. Or not only that, if I'm in a quarrel with someone and then the person is abusing me, it threatens. And whenever threatening happens, it goes back to the basic. Okay. Now, till everything is good, I can logically speak, I can be conditioned. So the conditioning is happening in the consciousness because the chemicals which are working there allow that to happen. What if it stops? Nothing I can do. So the fear, you should let go of it. So how do you let go of fear? It's not by crossing amygdala. So how do you stop it? By having sila. That's the only way you can survive. Otherwise, it goes into some other existence all of a sudden. So when challenged by someone, if you think you're very logical, sort of true, but not really true. So when you say, I'm tranquilizing, you're tranquilizing which one? You say, my mind. Which mind? The conscious mind, or the subconscious mind, or the unconscious mind? Which mind? Every signal which is being thrown at this network creates conscious experience. That's conscious mind. Every signal that is processed gives you subconscious experience, which is storage. And all of the storage taken together is what is unconscious mind. Because it's not yet conscious. So what we are talking as Vilas and Chirag is just conscious. Whatever has been said so far, what if that network is stopped? Which one takes over now? Subconscious, obviously. The next layer is subconscious. So that network is different. It's completely different. And the danger is in the third network, which is unconscious. We don't know who he is. Can be a saint, can be a sinner, can be both. Because it is all the experience of all the lives taken together, stored. If that is accessed by this neural pathway through what Buddha calls as namagutta or cloud devices, it comes into subconscious and then becomes conscious. The moment it becomes conscious, that person behaves that. Let's say I never had womanizing in my life. Not at all. As far as my friends, my relatives, my wife, anyone seen is, I'm never an womanizer. I never had even a girlfriend, to be honest. I used to be very shy with girls. But suddenly, at 50s, which shouldn't happen, something triggered. I have a fever. I got a fever. And that changed the cognition. So it shut down some networks, opened some other networks. And in that network, I start womanizing. My wife is shocked, and so is everyone. I was so shy of talking to a woman or a girl. Now I have an affair with 20s, 30s, whatever that age is. How? He was never like that. What I can do? Because it's triggered. What triggered, I don't know. Fever can trigger it. Drugs can trigger it. That means medicinal drugs. Psychedelic drugs can trigger it. Marijuana can trigger it. Or brown sugar can trigger it. Or any other drug. Heroin can trigger it. Anything can trigger the reaction of that chemical when connected with the molecule. It brings in that experience. So the unconscious existence becomes a real conscious existence. So the cleansing of using Buddha Dhamma is from conscious to subconscious to unconscious, so that even in the unconscious, these tendencies don't even exist. And that's the reason he calls it as kilesa or klesha, defilements. And when Goenkaji says anushaya klesha, it's actually true. Anushaya means sleeping. It's unconscious. There's nothing called sleeping. At this point in time, it's just unconscious. There's nothing to sleep there. The trigger is not there. Meaning, this chemical bonding which means molecular bonding between these chemicals through the cells have not happened. But if I were to take a drug, normal drug, let's say a paracetamol, which has a different chemical combination than what my body can process, it can trigger a reaction in the brain. And that might open up a subconscious existence. And hence, when somebody is having high fever, that person would be hallucinating, actually, because it opens up new pathways. So he will hallucinate. During COVID, many people have hallucinated because it takes a new neural pathway which was never accessible. So you will hallucinate. Basically, fever per se makes it hallucinating. It's a real great science, biology, physics, and chemistry. So you need to change the chemical combination, Chirag. So never allow it to trigger. So the samatha you are following is not about just watching the breath and closing eyes, is to remove the defilements, which is unconscious. So even unconsciously, I shouldn't be humanizing. And then on the conscious layer, I'm not humanizing. On an unconscious level, I shouldn't be stealing. So the conscious level also, I'm not stealing. On the unconscious level, I shouldn't be telling lies. So that this conscious level, I don't tell. Because now consciously, I don't do it because the trigger is not there. But if given an opportunity, that will take. That's the power of neural networks. Just like AI. Good, you are also AI, you're working on AI, and now you can really plan well on neural networks for yourself.
Yeah, it's fascinating, very fascinating.
Yeah, whatever is happening in the brain is happening on the server. So brain is again a server. Okay, should we end for today then? And thanks for the boring session, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Not at all boring, sir. Thanks for your teaching.
No worries. It's something which I love it, but no, Buddha Dhamma, you can't do it. You have to do it in a very, what way? It's a very traditional way. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa and all of that. So it is, then people will feel connected. He's talking our language. Otherwise, this is, I don't know what he wanted to say. Okay, all right. Take care. Thank you. Bye.